Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My name is Mark Otabo, and you are watching The Big. Electricity plays a significant role in the socio-economic and technological development of every nation and has become the backbone of modern industrial society with its versatility as a source of energy. Now, electricity was first introduced in Nigeria as far back as 1896 in Lagos, and that was only 15 years after a similar introduction in England. In spite of this long history, however, power in Nigeria has remained epileptic and unattractive to investors. So we ask, who is to be blamed for the constant power failure in Nigeria? Gbenga Komolafe is the General Secretary of the Federation of Informal Workers of Nigeria, FINWA, a rights activist and an ardent believer that inadequate power supply in Nigeria is a reflection of the failure of the past and present governments. Come on, put your hands together for him. You can do better than that. Come on. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, on the other hand, we have Captain Samuel Corcrick. He's an aviation consultant and the former rector of the Nigeria College of Aviation and the author of the book Power in Nigeria. Now, he argues that Nigerians should be blamed for inconsistent power supply in Nigeria and not the government. Interesting. Come on, put your hands together for him. You can do better than that. You're welcome, sir. All right, you know how we roll. We start off this debate in style. Now, this is particularly going to be very interesting because for the very first time in a long time, I'm getting to understand that the people also play a role, you know, as part of the reason why we do not have power supply. I would start, first of all, with Mr. Corcrick. Now, Mr. Corcrick, how do you begin this debate quickly?
You see, power, we're talking about two powers now. Right. The power we all have at home, which is the generator, and we have the public power, which is grid electricity. Yeah. They have two different characteristics. Yeah. One is that it's on demand. Yeah. If I need lights, I will tell somebody to put on a generator for me. Yeah. When I don't need it again, I switch it off. Yeah. But with the grid, I expect the light to be there all the time. So that's demands a cost. Okay. So whether I use it or not, it must be there. That's what I want. That's what we all want. And if I don't use it, my meter is zero. True. So it bears a cost. So we must have a cost-reflective tariff that will take care of the one I use, the power that is there, whether I use it or not, and the one that TCN takes over, which is they call it a spinning reserve. In case I put on heavy machinery, you know, at times when you overload your generator, the one that would compensate for the disturbances on the grid, instead of having this system collapse, we just had one last week, that has to pay for. So that those three components must be part of the tariff. Okay. As it is now, what we are paying is what we get. We're not paying for power all the time. We are paying for the one we use, whether we use it or not. We're not paying for the grid. That's why we have system collapse.
Come on, put your hands together. Okay, I'll come back to you. Now, I know you have your own perspective. Quickly, how do you open yourself?
Well, I'm a firm believer that for an issue of power, which is very important for development, for job creation, for employment, and so on and so forth. I think the government bears the primary responsibility for generation, transmission, and distribution of power because of its importance, especially in a developing and evolving economy like ours. Power is too important to be left in the hands of private operators and the whims and caprices of consumers. Whichever way you want to manage it, government bears responsibility, at least for setting appropriate policies and frameworks for power provision in a very efficient and also affordable manner.
Come on, put your hands together. All right, I understand your position. Now, Cockrick, you heard him.
Yep.
Now, he did say that government should bear the primary responsibility, and obviously he's also saying the capital responsibility should be on the government with regards to power. Now, you are coming from a different angle and saying the people are to be blamed. Apparently, when you started, you were a bit technical. Now, quite a number of people will not be able to grab enough of what you said. You might want to break it down once more, because the people at home watching right now want to know, how am I responsible for lack of power in the country?
Yeah, because we all know that government done its best. Okay. They've done so much.
All right.
The installed capacity that government has installed is about 15,422 megawatts.
All right.
Now, it's like building an estate for people to live in.
Yeah.
You want maybe 14 people to go in there, only 4. So you want to blame government for that? No. We were able to push out only 4,000 megawatts every day. And the reason is because of the market.
Okay.
If we push anything more than 4,000 megawatts in Nigeria today, Nigeria will go bankrupt. We'll go bankrupt because electricity, you can't store it.
All right.
It's not like oil.
It's consumable.
Yes. It must be used instantaneously. Yeah. That is, at the instant at which you produce it, you must use it. Otherwise, it goes waste.
Okay, let me get your point clear. What you're trying to say is, for power to be generated, you need enough hands.
You need market. You need a guaranteed market. That is people that will use it.
Okay.
Now, if you go to our market, 80% of what you see in the market, every item is made by power. Whether power in Nigeria or Accra or Ghana is made by power. Now, the guarantee is this. That component, when we buy imported goods, smuggled goods, we are not patronizing Ikeja Disco. We are patronizing Ghana Power Board.
Okay.
So that component is the market that is not there for the power industry to grow in Nigeria. So as long as we shown made in Nigeria, as long as the made in Nigeria share in the market is less than 40%, it's about 20% now, we need to raise it higher so that there will be guaranteed, because power, like I said, you can't store it. It is very delicate. So once you produce it, you must use it. And if you don't use it, somebody bears the cost. It is not me, the consumer, because my meter is 0 if I don't use it. It's the man that is producing that bears the cost.
Which is the government?
Well, it's not the government that is producing. They've sold it to the Gencos.
Okay, to the
private organizations.
Okay, they bear the brunt
so it's the
now.
market that is driving it.
Okay.
So our power is reacting to the forces of the market.
Okay. It's coming out. You want to clap now? Good. Okay.
So the moment we raise the share capital of made in Nigeria, power will grow, because that gives certainty to because you see the power industry is fraught with uncertainties.
Right.
We don't give advance notice to when we want to use light, when you want to put on your switch. No, like you do in your house. You know you're going to run generator, go and start generator. We don't do that. Yeah. The factories too do not give advance notice to the discos. We don't give advance notice the amount of power you're going to need. So they have to estimate. And if they don't get it right, they bear the cost. Okay. And don't forget, they've gone to the bank to borrow money. So they have to be sure. So what they are sure of, that they can recover a little bit, is their 4,000. Anything, if you produce more than that, they say, no, we don't want it. That's why the discos have been rejected. But the moment our industrial output goes up, then there's certainty. So that means every factory has a low inventory. You know that as your produce is going, they know they need power.
Okay, now when you talk about industries,
yes,
I understand that industries will have to employ more hands. There should be more capacity machines in to produce the goods for Nigerians to consume. But that problem is still also traced to the government, because apparently they have not created a healthy environment for industries to spring up.
The best environment you can give any business is the market. TVC, there's no market. You have the best equipment and nobody's watching. So the market is there. Mr. President just blocked the border for the market to grow a little bit. Look at our reaction, because we don't understand it.
So the people are to be blamed. Come on, guys, put your hands together. Now we're getting somewhere. Mr. Binga, you heard the way he has broken it down. Now, he said,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not, no matter how we want to try to push the blame to the government, the people are also responsible for the reason why we do not have power, because they are yearning for foreign products, they are yearning to smuggle. Their inability for them not to want to appreciate what they have at home for us to grow that power is lacking.
Well, I find that line of reasoning a little bit specious.
Okay.
To start with, I'm not aware of any Nigerian that will ordinarily will prefer to patronize foreign-made goods if those goods are available at competitive prices. I'll give you an example. Textile. We have made in Nigerian produced textile products. I mean, textiles, you know, African
Prints.
Yeah. And we all know that it's much more expensive than what comes from China. So for somebody whose minimum wage is 30,000 naira, I'm not going to go and buy a made in Nigerian textile for 6,000 naira for a wear, when I can get something else from wherever, I don't care, whether it's China or Japan, for maybe 1,500 naira. You know, so what determines my choice actually is the cost and the affordability, you know, of what I go for. Everybody knows that the Nigerian textile is actually better, it's actually superior to what you get from China. So it's not about quality. You know, it's about affordability. So I think we need to get that right.
Clear.
And why is the Nigerian textile more expensive? Precisely because the costs of production are outrageous. And one of the most important cost input is power. So if you talk to an average Nigerian producer, either the textile company or even TVC or an average hotel, they will tell you that they are the biggest cost outlay in their input for production is actually power.
Come on, guys.
So I find the argument a little bit convoluted. If we now say the market is not there, people are not, we are not patronizing, so the demand is low. So the Gencos or, you know, Discos are putting out 4,000 because that's what they speculate. I think it's really very special kind of argument. Okay, when everybody knows that the real situation in Nigeria is that we have effective demand for at least 20,000 megawatts of power every day, while we're having less than 3,000, 4,000. So, and the implication of that is quite obvious to everybody. Quite honestly, for the past 18 hours in my part of Lagos, there has been no power. So we have to use generator with the implication for noise pollution, with the implication for environmental pollution because of the emissions. You know,
the cost of buying fuel,
and of
diesel,
course the cost of buying fuel, which is even much more than whatever Disco is going to ask me to pay. So the demand is there.
All right.
There is no, I think there can be no argument about that.
All right, come on, guys. Mr. Corcoran, I don't envy this position you're in right now, really.
I can handle it. You know why?
Yeah.
I like it because it just made a point for me.
Yeah.
The demand is there. The demand he's talking about is a fringe demand.
Fringe. Okay.
I go to bed, I put off my light. If you are in business of supplying power, is that the kind of business you want? I don't use your power?
Well, Nigeria supplies power to neighboring countries.
No, that is a different issue because there was an agreement, a part because of Kainji. Okay. We said they should not dam Kainji. No, that's not why we're here.
Okay, now before we proceed, let me ask you this. Yes. Now, power is meant for consumption.
Yes.
I need to relax in my house.
That's correct.
I need to have light to watch TV.
That's correct.
I need to have light to iron my clothes.
That's correct.
Basically, I need that light to enjoy myself.
That's correct.
I don't need to have any power outage for my consumption. Probably there's a new baby at home and you don't want that baby to be running on heat or whatever. Yeah. You have to put on a fan and make the environment conducive. You are coming from the business angle now saying, if power is generated, there should be enough hands to consume it so it doesn't waste. Yeah. But what about the basic the basic reason for having power.
That's what I'm saying.
Are we going to defeat that purpose?
No. You see, there's a cost to it. You said it was too technical, so let me bring it down.
Okay.
See, that cost is this. You need power all the time.
All right.
Now, let's say Benga is the supplier. Benga doesn't know when you need that power. But if you generate your own electricity, you know when you need your power. So you can conserve at least your diesel or your petrol at any time. But you want Benga to run the generator all the time for you.
Okay.
So there's a cost to that. Whether you use it or not, you should be able to pay Benga for running that generator for you. So the tariff, the stakeholders in the industry are saying the tariff is too low for us to give power all the time. I can give this power as they use it because the meter will read the one he has used. But I cannot continue to put power there because supposing they don't use it. It's possible you produce power, the whole town will not use it. That's a possibility. That's a possibility that they are generating power, all of us just decide we're not going to use power. All our meters will read 0. What happened to the discos, the gencos? They will have produced power. So those are the uncertainties I'm talking about in that business.
Okay, in the business of power.
In the business of power, in the business of grid power.
Okay.
But if it is my own power, I have a factory, right? I can say, okay, I want to start a production line. Go and put on that generator. It's going to last 6 hours. We know the cost. We can contain that cost. But for somebody else that doesn't know when you're going to use it, doesn't know how much you're going to use, but you want you to give power, you should be able to pay for it. So they'll be asking for about 80 naira per kilowatt hour, which everybody feels is too high. Right now we're paying about 27, But they're saying that, look, if you want us to give you power, because what happens all over the world is that they produce more than, because the technology now is that you produce more than you need and waste, so that there'll be power all the time.
That's what's happening in development.
All over the world.
Okay.
That's what happens.
Okay.
But we don't have enough of that.
We don't have enough of that.
No, we don't, and we cannot afford it because our per capita, we don't have if I enter 30,000 naira, right? I don't want to pay more than 3,000 a year for a month. But if you go to that tariff, I'll probably pay 6,000. I have other obligations. I have to pay for rent. I have to pay for transport. I have to pay for that. So government is looking at that. That's why government is keeping it down. But for government keeping it down, that means we can never have light unless our buying power increases. Then we'll be able to go to Accra, anywhere you go, check the power, convert it to naira. It's about 10 times but minimum 5 times what we pay.
All right.
So it's the cost.
All right, guys, come on, put your hands together. One more. Yeah. Benga, I'm going to come to you.
Okay.
I'm going to come to you. Now, I'm still on you right now. Now, let's look at it from this angle. You have actually broken it down. Now, let me conclude that you are defending the government here. From the analysis you're giving so far, you are...
You see, in 2013, government failed because everybody blamed the government. It's okay. You want us to privatize it, so they give it up. Forget about the process of giving it up, but at least in private hands.
Let's visit that process. Yeah. We understand there's a national grid that provides power. A national grid that generates power and distributes, right?
There's a GENCO, they generate. They unbundled PACN into 18 companies, 6 GENCOs, those who run generators, not like your generator, but generating stations. Yeah. Then distribution company, 11 of them. And they left one, which is the carrier that will carry to your house. I mean, not to my house, because it's disco that takes to my house.
Is there anything wrong with that particular setup? Do you think there's anything wrong with that particular setup that is running at the moment? Because some arguments feel that instead of us to have a national grid, why can't states generate their own power and distribute?
Good. That could be the immediate solution. But because of economies of scale, what you get from grid is the fraction of power of whatever because it's the cheapest, because it's so big. Volume will drive down price. Yeah. So all over the world, people go for the massive grid to crash the cost per kilowatt hour.
Okay.
Yes.
Now it's
but because you cannot store electricity, so what TCN is trying to do is that they want to use batteries, but technology has not gotten to the point that you can store enough electricity on a national scale. Yeah. So they are spending so much money, about $1.7 billion now, to book batteries so that they will buy from the GENCOs and keep. So if there's any disturbance on the grid, But we must pay for those such things.
All right, come on, guys. Come on, put your hands together. Woo! Wow. Well, it is getting clearer. It's getting clearer. Now, Mr. Binga, you heard what he said.
Yeah.
That he's broken it down to a point. I try to argue that, look, we need to have, why can't states generate their own power? Now, he has actually said, look, the general grid, which is the one that distributes, is the more effective one because it will crash costs. That's coming from his angle right now.
Right.
But you are saying in all of this analysis he's making, you are not satisfied. You still feel the government is the problem and the reason why we don't have power. Maybe you want to elaborate further with what he has highlighted so far.
Yeah, exactly. To start with, we all are familiar with NEPA.
NEPA.
Which was managed by government.
Yeah.
And of course, most Nigerians were also dissatisfied with the services of NEPA, which was why it was privatized. And the argument for privatization was that the private players will bring in expertise, will bring in technology, will bring in needed funds, and will also rationalize the management of distribution and consumption by providing meters to consumers. Unfortunately, what we have had in almost, is it 5 years now, since privatization, is that the discourse have come with all manner of arguments in the world for not providing
meters,
even what NEPA used to give us, for not providing us the meters, which was one of the principal arguments for privatization, and they have also even succeeded in forcing or in pressuring government to give them huge largesse, which they call
subvention.
Subvention, or is it?
Intervention.
It is subvention, intervention, or whatever, running to trillions, and that happened about 3 times in those few years we have had privatization. We've had argument about tariff, and so tariffs have been reviewed about 3 times as well, and still we're having this kind of argument. So it will appear to me that whether privatized or in government hands, government has still not done enough to actually address the real issues.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, and I've always made the argument even on other sectors of the economy, as far as privatization is concerned, whether government hands off the business of production entirely, which is not possible anyway for an underdeveloped economy like ours, or government actively intervenes, like what we used to have, government bears the responsibility for setting the parameters of production, exchange, and distribution.
All right.
Because without that, government failing to do that, you have chaos. And that's exactly what we have in Nigeria.
All right, come on, put your hands together. Well, of course, you heard it. Without the government setting the parameters and putting the right implementations in place, we just might not get anywhere. But not to worry, we're going somewhere with this. We'll be right back if you're just joining us. This is still the Big Issue. Blamed for the constant power failure in Nigeria. The debate is still on, and we have these gentlemen still holding on to their positions. Now, Mr. Corkery, very quickly, you heard him. He says, look, government should set the parameters. They should put the right implementations in place for this power to be available. It appears the government are not doing enough. The government are allowing these private sectors, bully them into releasing so much money, and with so much money they've released so far, nothing is looking like an improvement.
Before I respond to what Benga said, I think we seem to have been looking in the wrong direction.
Okay.
Over the year, for the past 30, 35 years or so. The real issue, like I said, is the market. Government, the only thing that government can do to grow this market, which we know is not possible, is for government to pay for electricity. Then just produce. then we have light. But we know, like I said, government will go bankrupt if we do that. Government, they can give us light, but somebody has to pay for it.
Okay.
I can afford it because I earn only 30,000 naira at the rate in which they will give me more hours of light.
Okay, so before you continue, let's look at it from this angle. Now,
Yeah.
he said something. Over times, when these private sectors came on board.
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that.
Okay.
I'm coming to that.
Okay, fine.
Yes. You see, in a business, private business, to attract investors, there are two key things that really attract investors all over the world.
Right.
Returns on investment and security of funds.
Right.
Okay, let's say they are security because those things are there. We don't expect them to go bad. But returns on investment. Why do you think investors have not put a dime, one kobo, since that privatization? It's because there's no return on that investment. And you see, I don't want to think that electricity is like oil or textile. You use textile. That's almost infuriated me because we're talking about something that you cannot store. Textile, if you don't buy it, I'll put it on the shelf for anybody that comes around and come and buy. This is a commodity that if I produce, you don't buy, you don't use, I will have to go bankrupt. I have to go to the bank. I'm sorry, I have to need more money. It's there are two different things. Power is different. That's why we can't solve it. That's why, because we are treating it as if it's a commodity you can put into storage.
Okay.
No. If you say you need electricity now, even your house, you tell them to go and start generator and you forget to put on anything on. By the time you go back, the diesel is gone or the petrol is gone.
Yeah.
You can't recover that again.
Yeah.
So that is where we are.
At the moment.
The cost of it, the cost. Now, what I think Benga will maybe talk about later is government is doing that intervention. That intervention, is it the right intervention? But that's not why we're here.
Right.
If it's the right intervention, right? If government say, look, I want to subsidize electricity, instead of giving, government just wrote a check of 187 billion to the to the Gencos for the power that the Discos rejected. But it's part of the agreement when you privatize.
Right.
Because they said, look, I don't know whether I'm going to use my light, with the power. I will produce 6,000 every day. And the Disco said, okay, if you produce 6,000, I can't recover that 6,000. I can only recover 4,000. So they reject 2,000. That is what government is paying for. They just paid a check about 3 months ago. If that check has been that, look, let's use it to subsidize electricity for all of us. Right. Yes, it will still grow. But the bottom line is that market. And the market is in every item we use every day. So the moment we all focus on made in Nigeria, they will need power. It will be generator first. But when it's constant,
right.
The Discos, instead of course begging the Disco will be begging us. They're going to be begging don't worry, I can give you cheaper power. I know you're selling. But Discos knows that if he gives power now, tomorrow the guy will shut down because he didn't say yesterday. So that is the uncertainty there.
Guys, come on. Well, I'm still warming up to actually accept your
because
stand.
It is outside the narrative that everybody understands.
All right.
Yeah, so it's a if that narrative has been there, we will have solved it. But the narrative has been wrong. That's why I said for the past 35 years.
Now, you said something. Government has just released a check.
Yes.
To distribute whatever it is they want to use.
To pay for the one that's been rejected.
That's been rejected.
Yes.
Now, I understand perfectly well the technical aspect you are coming from. You are talking as a businessman who's supplying power now.
Yes. And
saying, look, the government is the people are to be blamed and not the government.
If they don't reject me, that is because if you reject me in Nigeria goods, you have rejected the power in Nigeria.
Okay, look at the made in Nigeria goods.
Yes.
Is it a fault of the citizens that our industries are collapsing?
He made a very vital point. But that's not why we're here. That's not why we're discussing now.
Yeah.
The quality, he said the quality is even good. He said so. He said the quality is better. But it's the price, we cannot afford it. We cannot afford it because our earning power is low. Now, their earning power is low because for every imported item, it has a component of power, which is bought in Accra because it's made in Accra. It has a component of labor, which is Ghanaian laborer. If I patronize made in Nigerian goods, that component of labor will be us. So that jobs will be created. That component of power will be Ikeja Disco, Eko Disco, all those discos it will grow.
Okay, should we not blame the few hands that have decided to withhold our wealth from distribution? Should we blame the people who are just there waiting for life to be good for them, believing that the government has their backs covered? I mean, look at it from this angle as well. How about the fact that government makes a conducive environment for us to live in? Create the industries, let the jobs be there.
Government does not create the industry. Government will create an environment.
Okay,
yes.
An enabling environment, but so far the enabling environment is not even there.
No, the best enabling environment you can give any business is that market. Look, if I say you are, if I say
industries are closing up.
No, wait a minute. If I close the border today, there'll be market because we have needs. We are human beings. There'll be needs.
Yeah.
There'll be needs. That's what China did. China closed the market for 10 years, 1995 to 2005. China closed it. Whatever you want to sell in China, come and do it in China. Whatever.
But China had they have a structure.
No structure.
Now they closed the border and they became self-sustaining.
Good.
They had the factories. They had the production.
I love that.
But Nigeria don't have that.
No, China did not have it in 1995. China did not have it.
Because I like the allusion to China because
yes. China did not have it.
China actually provides a very good template of the kind of options open to countries like Nigeria.
Okay.
I'm not sure China actually closes borders, but I don't want to go into.
China did.
I don't want to go into that debate right now.
China did, yeah.
Except to make the point that what we have actually done with the land border closure is not. It's just closure of land borders. It's not
effective. Actually,
an effective control of import into Nigeria.
Guys, come on.
Because the chunk of our imports are still coming in through the seaports and through air freights every day. And that's why even custom earnings, since border closure, has been extremely marginal. You get the point? Because what actually has been, what do you have coming through the borders? What we've had through the borders is simply informal cross-border trade, which is extremely infinitesimal compared with what Nigeria actually brings in from all over the world through the seaports. So we've not actually closed, we've not actually
achieved any goal.
We are not actually controlling importation. So I think we need to get that right. What we are merely doing is to punish the very small people who do business with neighboring countries within the ECOWAS.
Come on, guys.
But like I've said, that's not even the issue.
Yeah.
The issue is that I find a very circuitous kind of argument here. The Nigerian industries are not competitive because of cost. And the major factor there is electricity, is power.
Yeah. Without power, I can run my industry. I can run my company.
You do a very random survey of any place productive activity is going in this country. Maybe with an hotel, that may be closer to where we are now.
Yeah.
And talk to anybody that, what's your problem here? I will tell you that, look, we run on diesel. And that's expensive. And that's why my hotel tariff is high. And I'm listening to an argument that people are not picking up power. When actually there is a real and effective demand
for it.
Not just by domestic consumers, but even by industries. Real and effective demand for electricity, which is not being provided. And I'm hearing the argument that because somebody is afraid that if I provide the power, it may not be picked up. So that's why they are not. The truth of the matter is that everything was flawed with the privatization of PSCN. Had been issue. First of all, it is evidently clear that the right kind of people with the requisite capital, with the requisite technical know-how, with the requisite access to technology, were not the people that bought those power plants. And that is why, they are unable to provide power right now because they don't have the capacity for it. They only have an eye to maximize profits.
Right.
And I understand that the management of this discourse earn ridiculous amounts of money. You know, the MDs of discourse earning as much as 123 million naira, 47 million naira per month for services not being provided. So I don't get it. So do you come and blame me that I'm not picking up power that I need, that I don't have, which is why you hear we're having this massive pollution all over the country because people have to invest heavily in alternative means of generating power, generators, and so on and so forth. And you are so, the point is very clear. And so, even if we accept the argument of privatization, the basic ground for it, which is for efficiency, which is for better technical input, which is for capital investment, the basic plan has been completely eroded by the fact that those who have taken up these things, those who have bought these plans, don't have all those things.
All right, come on, guys.
And whose fault? Is that my fault as a consumer, as a Nigerian?
He's asking the question, is that the fault of the consumer?
No. Am I the one that privatized it?
All right.
I've listened to you.
Yes.
I've listened to you.
Yeah.
You see, when we put on an argument on a narrative that has been with us for so long, our reasoning is on that narrative. Yeah. And we are being confined within that narrative. I've got a little bit technical to why power is different from other commodities. And all the argument I'm getting is argument of, well, wait a minute, look, is it the power? If I provide power, right, and you bought my power today, because you bought my power today, you produce 1,000 units of your products, I expect that you buy my power tomorrow because I'm buying from somebody else, from the Gencos. And I bought from the Gencos for you to produce 1,000, you did not. Why? You did not because you didn't sell yesterday. I've lost. But your meter is zero. I cannot take you to court and say, look, I provided power for you yesterday, this morning. Why didn't you use it? No. Your meter is zero because my contract with you is by the meter.
All right.
Yes. So I have to be sure that you can use that power before I buy again.
All right.
Nobody has been listening to the Gencos. The Gencos have been saying for the past 3 years. We have 7 to 15 generating stations idle. There are no incentives to fire them. The incentives is what I'm talking about. The incentives is what we buy every day, the power component of it. Because it is small good or imported, that power component is garnered power.
Okay, it's not in use.
Not our own.
Okay.
The moment they know that Nigerians are buying made in Nigeria, so that power component now is available, they will fire. Because they know they can't store it. If it's something like, look, okay, let's produce this power, we keep it doesn't produce tomorrow, yesterday, tomorrow you can use it. No, power is not like that.
The truth of the matter is that actually industry in Nigeria complains about power supply. It has been documented severally by Manufacturing Association of Nigeria that each time you have an increase in the price of petroleum products, because that's where they derive power. They don't even talk about your disco or whatever. They derive power from generators, from diesel. So when that increases, the price of diesel increases, a lot of factories actually close down. Why? Because the cost, the increased cost of fuel pushes their cost of production. And they know that if they produce, people will not be able to buy because it's too expensive. The products will become uncompetitive. Now, we thought when the issue of privatization was being mooted, that with privatization, there will be, these people will bring capital, these people will bring technology.
And make it
These
easy.
people will modernize. They will give us meters. We won't depend on estimated billing and all of that. The whole business of generation, transmission, and distribution and consumption of electricity will be modernized. That was the promise of privatization. And I keep reiterating that our experience has been the exact opposite of all those promises.
Guys, come on.
Who bears responsibility for that? One. That's one. It was also hoped that with privatization and infusion of capital, increase in power production and supply in Nigeria, industries will be enabled to lower their cost of production and also thereby lower the cost of their products,
yeah.
and thereby becoming more competitive.
Yeah.
But again, the exact opposite has been the case. The discourse have been fines on the neck of industries. That even the little they supply, they are forced to pay so much for it. And that I'm sure if you bring representatives of manufacturers and producers to this hall, they will tell you tales of frustrations, multiple frustrations from these so-called power suppliers in Nigeria right now.
Right.
So the challenge actually right now is not generating a market. I find the argument really,
may I come in here now?
You will come in, not
yes.
now. You will come in.
It's not about market.
All right.
Because
We're in the market economy.
there is a market already.
No, there's no.
And the fact that most of the power presently being used in electricity power being used in Nigeria is from alternative sources.
Put your hands together for him. Come on.
Other than this.
There is. Now, the argument has divided already. There's a market for it, and Mr. Kokrik is saying there is no market for it. Not to worry, we're still on the show. We'll be right back after this break. This is still The Big. You're trying to piece all of these together. I told you earlier on, this is going to be a very, very firm debate. Now, so far, the conversation is already on a divide. One of them is saying, look, power, there is no market for power. And Benga is arguing and saying, look, there is already a market for power. We're going to be looking at all of this, and so far, I know the audience, they have their questions. They've been frowning because they don't understand what's going on. They want answers, and we'll get them right after now. Now, quickly, who is asking the first question, and who are you directing your question to?
My name is Babatunde Adekombi, and I'm directing my question to you, sir.
Kokrik, yeah.
We all know that the primary goal of a private enterprise is to maximize profits. That's very clear. And the government actually go ahead privatizing the power sector. And I want to give this little illustration. If you engage an employee and his output is not effective, what we do is you fire the person. Now the government has given this power sector for some people
to manage.
To manage, yeah. Now, I feel, and of recent, the introduction of meters is to actually regulate the consumption. Now, I feel personally the government have failed in ensuring that this private organization managing the power sector has not really bring out the best. There should be policies on ground to see into all these the effective
issues that have been coming up.
Yes. So I feel the government has really not put down some policies to guide these private sectors, and if they are not working out well, they should give it to. We have a lot of vendors looking for this opportunity. I feel the government should see into this by
Okay,
possibly.
thank you,
So
thank you.
that's
Put
my
your hands together for him. Now, you understand?
Yeah, hold on,
Yeah, quickly.
Yeah, I'd like to quickly. It is not true that government has not put down the policy. There's an act in 2006 that set up this, the act, yes, it's there. So, so all the modalities, everything is there. But we should not forget one thing. We are dealing with grid electricity. When I started I tried to say there's a difference between the power that you generate yourself and the power that the other person does not know what you're going to use that power for. He doesn't know when you're going to use it. It's a different thing. So there's a risk. Don't forget it's an investment. That's a risk. The risk is that I'll go to the market, I'll buy something for 6,000 naira, but each time I come back home, I can only realize 4,000. Will you go to the market and spend 6,000 again when you know that every time you go out and spend 6,000 naira is 4,000? Before you know, you go bankrupt. So that is what is driving it. The effective power market is soft, like I said. It's embedded in every item we use. But that is only 20% market for them, because 80% is imported. If you can increase the share of what we produce locally, that increases the potential for them. So they know that they can take that risk. Okay, 80% of the power they need is within Nigeria, because 80% of what we sell. And we now, they will take the risk and put the power out. Whether you buy it or not, at least they can try. But when you know it's only 20%, the embedded power to manufacture each item, if it is not made in Nigeria, you cannot go and buy made in Nigeria, their own power to sell to Ghana, to manufacture for you to use. So if we increase the market share of made in Nigeria, that increases the possibility and that reduces their own risk. They know that, okay, they will need power. Even though their own generator now is expensive, I can give guarantee to lower the cost because mine is cheaper.
All right, come on, put your hands together. Yes, before you ask, now let me get it clear right now, because it appears you are gradually opening it up for us to understand.
Yes.
Now, you are saying the people are to be blamed for it. And you're coming from the angle of, you're coming from the business aspect of the people responding to the power now.
Yes.
Now, I thought you were going to come from an angle of the corruption and the rot in the system is the reason why the people are not aligning with the policies to ensure that there is adequate distribution of this power. Because he argued about the fact that
I understand.
To be shared, but
the people who run this into what you are talking about. Let's suppose even the corruption every day is about 1,000 megawatts. We have the capacity for 14. Let's say that corruption, the money that all of them are going to make, is just the cost of 1,000 megawatts. But how come it's saturated at a particular figure, 4,000? Why are we not asking ourselves, why 4,000? Because that is what the market can take.
All right, come on, put your hands together for him. All right.
Like, I'm from Anambra State.
Good, yes, sir.
And in my state, in my town, Gogo, we don't have, for like 6 years, going to 6 or 5 years, we have not seen a T-star at all. We have not seen lights at all. Yeah. So I want to ask you, in practical terms, can you explain and tell me the reason? And also, even in Lagos, there are some communities that have not gotten meters. Can you help me to shed more light?
Yeah, we have, our demand is about 22,000 megawatts. So we don't have enough.
Okay, let's establish one fact before you continue.
Yes.
What is the required megawatts that Nigeria
demand that can give us a better life?
Yes, that can give us a better life in Nigeria. What is the required number of megawatts? Do you have an estimate of the exact megawatts Nigeria can consume?
I do not. But maybe I mentioned a figure. But what I know is that, like in UAE, some years back, by 2005, UAE said their demand was about 25,000 megawatts demand, but they produce 30 and waste. That waste is for uninterruption. No matter what happens, waste. Then you now share the cost to the consumer.
Okay.
But we don't have enough. We don't have enough at all. And we don't have enough. You see, it's like the issue of the chicken and the egg. We should come first. We all know, okay, no, go and give me power. But if I give you power first and you don't sell, Who bears the cost?
But you see, as much as you're trying to make this, drive this narrative, Nigeria is so blessed.
Yes.
We are blessed in all aspects of life.
No, we are poor.
Country envy us. Country
We are
envy us. So are you saying with the kind of blessing that God has given to us, we cannot enjoy uninterrupted power supply?
Yes.
Well,
of public electricity.
Well,
of public electricity.
If one may come in,
Yes.
because one of the major plank of Mr. Cochrane's argument actually is that some generated power necessarily have to waste in order to ensure uninterrupted supply.
That's correct. All over the world.
That's given.
That is what?
That is given. We all accept that. And
So
before privatization, we expect that to go into the feasibility.
But you're saying the cost now.
We expected that to have been factored into your reckoning, that to ensure this outcome, you need to make this kind of inputs.
Mr. Cochrane, you heard his final thoughts. Now, your final thought, very short.
Yes, my final thought is that I want to enjoin all Nigerians from the discussion, from the points I've raised, that we are all responsible for where we are today. I've told you about why our youths are roaming the streets. It's because of that component of labor in our preference for imported goods. Embedded there is foreign labor. It could have been made in Nigerian labor. I've told you about power. I've told you what we could save the national savings to go up. And what does that do? National savings will drive down the cost of borrowing because it impinges on, it impacts on the interest rates because there's so much money, you know. So, but we are burning it away. We are burning it away, running generators and everything, all because we are not considering the fact that any time I buy a product that is made outside Nigeria, I am making the power industry where that thing was made better than ours.
Come on.
So we need, yes, government, the state government is today, in Nigeria today, is appalling. We all know that. But at times, we have seen pictures in some areas, they live in filth. Everybody's waiting for government. Even filth, you cannot even clear that. So we have responsibility as citizens.
The people.
Yes. We need to understand from the points I've raised that we need to really help this economy to grow.
All right, thank you.
And the best way to help this economy to grow is to patronize Made in Nigeria.
Thank you.
So that even Benga, we have more members because the unionist. I'm sure he's not happy that his numbers are shrinking.
Come on, guys. Benga, come on. You can shake hands now. You can shake hands now. Come. Guys, put your hands together for them once again. All right. Now, follow the conversation on our social media handles at TVC Connect and at TVC News Nigeria. My personal handle is at Mark Otabo. It's been an interesting journey so far, but this is where we bring it to an end. But not to worry, for another interesting episode, always remember to tune in to The Big Issue. Thank you very much. Peace.